Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I'm here to share with you a fun card with some ink blending and a fun background and a little bit of paper piecing using the new Rainy Day Fun. I'm just going to use the umbrella image from this stamp set, and I'm also using an assortment of pattern paper from the new 6x6 Sweet Stripes paper pad. I'm starting off with a card base that I've created already with Premier Polar White cardstock, and I'm going to do a little ink blending along one side. I'm using two different tones of Reverse Confetti dye ink. First, I'm starting off with the softer gray stone dye ink, confetti colors, and I'm just kind of blending in from the side and letting it kind of create an ombre look a little darker off to the right, and then softening out as I blend in. And then to add a little bit of depth and shading, I'm coming in with a little bit of Stormy confetti colors dye ink. And you notice I'm just kind of hitting the sides on that just to add a little more depth on that side. And then I came back in just a little more with that stone just to blend it out a little further. I wanted that transition to be a little bit longer over there, so I blended it a little further. You can use any form of blending tool you like. That's a makeup brush. That's kind of my favorite form right now of ink blending. Now I'm going to stamp that little cute umbrella from Rainy Day Fun. I'm using Midnight Dye ink, and I'm going to stamp it 3 times directly over that blended background that I've created. Make sure and clean your stamp really well in between, and then kind of give time to let the moisture dry off from cleaning it, because you don't want to leave a wet splotch or kind of a shadow effect with your ink. So I'm making sure I'm cleaning it well in between each of those. I kind of stamped them at little fun jaunty angles. Now I'm leaving it lined up in my MISTI again, and I'm stamping. I only want the top part of the umbrella, so I'm not worrying about getting ink on the whole stamp. I'm just making sure that top umbrella image is well inked. And then once I've stamped them on that pattern paper, I can come in with my detail scissors and just carefully fussy cut out only that top part of the umbrella image. I skipped through that because it's tedious just to sit and watch someone cut something. Now I'm going to add some texture to my background before I adhere those pattern paper pieces on there. I'm using a box to protect my surface area, and I'm starting off with some splatters of white acrylic paint that are mixed with a little water. I keep them in a mini mister. You can mix them and add them with a paintbrush or something like that. And I also wanted to add some black splatters, so I'm using some black liquid watercolors. And for this one, I am using a tiny paintbrush, and I'm trying to make sure I hardly have any of those liquid watercolors left on my brush, because I want super tiny fine black drops. It's actually nearly impossible to see them in this photo, but once I come in a little bit closer, you'll be able to see them better. And once they dry, it just adds a fun texture. I almost wanted the background to kind of be a stormy sky with the bright umbrellas popping out against it. I'm adhering each of those pattern paper pieces over the umbrellas, carefully just adding adhesive to the back. I'm using a glue pen. It's kind of my favorite way to add pattern paper for paper piecing, and making sure I have a good coat now that my background's dried a little, and I can adhere those over the top, and then those still pop out even over all those splatters I added on the background. Now I grabbed a sentiment from that same Rainy Day Fun stamp set. I'm going to stamp it in the same Midnight Dye ink, and I'm just going to stamp this right kind of in that little space between those bottom 2 umbrellas. This kind of incorporates the rule of thirds, because that with those 3 umbrellas and then placing it in the middle there, it sort of places it about a third of the way up from the bottom of my card, which is just kind of a pleasing design for the eyes. And there you go, a nice encouraging card to send to a friend who's maybe going through a rough time. Thanks so much for coming by today. Have a wonderful day.